So in this video I'm going to talk about a character which is pronounced huo. Huo. And huo today means or. Now this character is a phonetic loan, which means that originally meant something completely different, and in our case it's country. So this character originally used to mean country. And it was chosen to represent the meaning or solely because of the way the word country was pronounced a long time ago, maybe 2,500 years ago, or maybe even more. So whoever was looking for a character to represent the word or, he looked at all existing characters and looked at their pronunciations and was trying to find a character that was the closest in pronunciation to the word or. As or is a very abstract meaning, so it would be probably very difficult to somehow write down its meaning in very few strokes, even in 15 or 20 strokes. I can imagine it would be really difficult. So what they were doing at that time, I think, was a pretty wise choice and an intelligent and creative sort of decision to look for these phonetic loans, look for characters that had the same pronunciation or very similar, or were pronounced in a very similar way, already had characters, and then they just chose those characters to represent those meanings. So in this case, this character originally used to stand for the word country, but because of its pronunciation was very close, or maybe even similar with the word or, they chose this character to represent this meaning as well. Now, let me just show you what elements this character consists of. So it consists of 3 elements. The first one is this one, and it is pronounced g in the first tone, and it is some sort of a weapon. It's hard to tell what kind of a weapon it is. Possibly an axe, more likely a spear, but it's really hard to tell. Of course, these 4 strokes that you can see over here, they are only implying the meaning. They are not a real picture of a weapon. So you can try to interpret these 4 strokes in any way you want. They're only a formatted simplification of earlier versions of this character that more or less did resemble real weapons. But this is the regular script, the most recent version of Chinese characters. So most of the characters that you see in the regular script will only very distantly resemble their original version. So what I'm trying to say is that if you look at these 4 strokes and I tell you that it's a weapon and you don't see any weapon in it, like it doesn't resemble a weapon, then you're absolutely right. It does not resemble a weapon. It used to resemble a weapon in earlier versions of this character. This is only a simplified, formatted version of whatever this character used to look like before. So if you're trying to find a weapon in it, it's going to be hard, and I don't blame you. It's okay to not be able to see a real weapon in these 4 strokes. The next element in this character is this one over here, which is pronounced ɣʷək in the second tone. And some of y'all might say that, well, this is pronounced ko and should be a mouth, and it is correct. Most of the times when you see this element as a standalone character or as a part of other characters, it should be pronounced ko. But in this case, it is pronounced ɣʷək, and its meaning is city walls in this particular case. More often you can see it translated as an enclosure or a box or a closed space, but in this particular case it really represents the city walls. And the last element in this character is this one over here, which, if we want to be really pedantic, it's pronounced i, but in this case it only represents land, which is definitely not pronounced i. It's only this one stroke that can be pronounced e. So the logic behind these 3 elements that you can see over here is that you use weapons and city walls to protect your land, and so all 3 elements clearly point to the meaning country. So it's a meaning compound. Like I said just now, all elements in the character point to the meaning. None of the elements point to the sound, and that's what a meaning compound character is. So one more thing that I wanted to add was that so at the time when this character basically was chosen to represent the word or, for a very short time there was a situation where 2 different meanings, or and country, were represented by the same character. So in order to sort of overcome this problem, a new character was chosen for the original meaning, which was country, and the new character was this one, and this might be A lot of you probably will recognize this character. If not this one, then the next one I'm going to write definitely. And this character is pronounced ɣʷɔ in the second tone, and it means country. This is the way you write the word country, the character country, I should say, today, country. So clearly, this inside, even if I didn't tell you that, there's this history behind this character, that originally this big character that I'm talking about in the middle of your screen used to represent country, and then to differentiate the two meanings, a new character was created by adding this enclosure, which again represents city walls, to it, to make this distinction between these two characters. Even if I didn't tell you this, you probably would guess that the inside of the character is the phonetic element of the character as a whole, because the inside is pronounced huo, and the entire character is pronounced ɣʷɔ. And then the outside is just the semantic element, because it is again wej, the city walls. So basically, huo phonetic and wej semantic, but also a character that was created just to differentiate or to distinguish this ambiguation of these two of the meaning of this one character. Now, the simplified version of this character, because as I said, this is the traditional version, is this one. I'm not exactly sure about the stroke order here, so please correct me if I'm wrong. And it is again pronounced ɣʷɔ, and it means country. But unfortunately, if you look at the simplified version of this character, you will have a hard time knowing how to pronounce this character, because the inside of the character, if I just extract it, it's basically this element, or this character over here, which is pronounced u, and it means jade. Jade. And phonetically, it has nothing to do with the pronunciation of the character as a whole, which is ɣʷɔ, as I told you. Semantically, I think it does, because somewhere I remember reading that basically u, jades, are the riches or the wealth of the country, which is protected by the city walls. Originally, however, the inside of the character was the phonetic part of the character, right? Huo, this, what you can see over here. So by replacing whatever was inside, and which was the phonetic element, and replacing it with a semantic element, sort of messes up the whole thing. It is much easier to write, because you simplified this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 strokes into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically. So it's easier to write, and it's much quicker and more effective. But in terms of etymology and understanding what the character is actually about and what it's composed of, and like trace its meaning back and so on, it's not very useful. So let me show you real quick how to write this character. It's going to be slightly problematic. So you can try to pause this video and try to guess how to write this character if you don't know how to write it already. The tricky part is basically the fact that it is, again, as a lot of characters, separated into the left and into the right part. And basically what you have to do is that you first finish the left part, and then you continue into the right part. And the tricky part is that basically the left and the right is connected over here, so you might think that first somehow you might first want to do these two strokes because they are connected, and then continue over here. But that is wrong, and maybe I should have just first written without any explanation and then tell you all the details. So what you have to do is you first start with the long horizontal stroke, and then you continue and finish whatever is on the left side, and only then do you proceed to the right side. It's a bit tricky, I have to agree, but what you have to remember is, how I remember this, is that you have to go 1, 2, 3 horizontally here, and once that is done, then you can move on to what is left. So you do first horizontal, then of course you can do the next horizontal, but you somehow proceed, and then you finish. Actually, there's 4 horizontal strokes, so that might be even more helpful. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have to just have in mind that you do the horizontal strokes first, and then you proceed to whatever is next. You have to remember though that this element over here can't start with the horizontal stroke. You first have to go with this one, then the sort of bend stroke, and then you finish with the second horizontal stroke. So it's not like you can do all the 4 horizontal strokes in one sequence, but might be helpful if you want to remember how to write the character as a whole. So you go first horizontal, then this little cheating vertical one, horizontal again, horizontal again, horizontal again. You finish with that, you do the long falling, right falling stroke, then this left falling stroke, and then the dot to finish it all off. You know that if a dot is somewhere present in this section of the character, it has to go last. So let me do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with a small hook at the end, 7, and 8. All right, one thing that I wanted to sort of point out, and I think I did this in my earlier character writing videos, is that this stroke and this stroke over here, they are not the same stroke types. The first one, let me find a space where I can write it, is written like this, and it is a straight, flat, horizontal stroke, where the technique in which you write it, if you really write it with a pen, is that you put the pen down at the beginning of the stroke, then you apply pressure throughout the entire length of the stroke, and you lift the pen at the end. And so why I'm saying this in such detail is that if you don't do this, or I should say if you do this, the stroke will be equally thick at both ends. Whereas there's a different technique and a different stroke type, which happens to be this one, the second one, where you apply pressure at the beginning of the stroke, and then as you pull the pen, you gradually release the pressure. And I don't think you can see it that well with on your screen, because the tablet I'm using is not really conveying this very well. But what should happen is that the stroke, let me try to do that. It's impossible with this tablet, but it should be sharp at the end, as is the case over here. So as you can see, it is thick on one side, on one end, and then it is sharp on the other end. And it is achieved by exactly this technique that I just told you, that if you apply pressure at the beginning of the stroke, and then you just release it towards the end. So this stroke over here is called heng. This stroke over here is called heng, and this is called ti, and there are 2 different strokes. Alright, so that's basically it for this character. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I will see you in the next one.